It's never too late for you to turn to God. No matter how far you've fallen away from God, no matter how big you failed, it's never too late to humble yourself and depend on God. If you've been given a second chance, take it. My story starts as one that seems to be very average. On January 21st, 1998, my mother and father brought me into this world, and I know for sure that at that moment they had no clue of what my future would consist of. I grew up having what I would consider to be a pretty normal life. My mother and father raised me on a foundation of hard work and biblical morals. My father worked hard for everything that we had. When I was a child, my father would work obscene hours to give my mother, brother, and I everything that we needed. My mother, although being a stay-at-home mom for a few years of my childhood, worked extremely hard as well. Let's just say that I was a hard baby to take care of. She showed me her ultimate love through how hard she would work for me. She would make sure that she gave me everything that I could want or need. What they did not know is the hard work ethic that was being instilled into me would later cause me a lot of anxiety. The biblical morals that my mother and father always followed while raising me as a child were very strong. Since the day that I was born, I've always been in the church. Both of my parents and the rest of my family have always been in the church, and there was no doubt about it, when I was born, I was going to be right there with them. When they say that it takes a village to raise a child, they are not kidding, because I think everyone in my small church while growing up had a very big part in growing me to the kid that I became. All throughout elementary and middle school, I could tell that there was something different about me. All of the other kids that I was growing up with seemed to be a lot more at ease at life than I was. In these years, I discovered that I developed many more emotions than the other kids I was around. What I'm trying to say is that I was beginning to realize that I suffered from a horrible case of anxiety. I was always stressing myself out about the smallest and stupidest things. With the bad anxiety I grew up struggling with, it then brought along a brand new monster that I wish would have never came upon me: depression. Then, everything began to hit me at once. I reached high school and everything in my life began to change. My whole freshman year, my depression continually grew until it spiked. During my sophomore year, some specific things happened in my life that caused me to spiral down rapidly. I went into a long slump of feeling incredibly down on myself. I could no longer control or lasso my emotions. I felt like my life was never going to get any better, and I had nothing to do with it. Then the night happened. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a very intense night for my family, and we were all yelling and screaming. I felt my emotions begin to come to the surface, and then finally, they began to pour out of me. I went to my room, and I thought that this was it for me. I was done with dealing with my uncontrollable emotions. I was prepared to go against God and everything I could ever be taught about Him. I mean, I had already walked so far away from Him anyway. Next, I took action. I started to hold my face into my pillow, and I did not pull my face back out. All of a sudden, right before I could feel myself ready to pass out, it felt like something pulled me back. I did it again. I put my face into my pillow and pushed down just harder. I was ready, but something pulled me back up, and the feeling to do this again was taken away from me all of a sudden. After what seemed to be the longest time of my life, I finally got a hold of my breath and looked next to me. I then noticed a Bible that had been bought and given to me by a man named Paul Rhodes. I do not know why I reached out for the Bible, but I do know that when I touched it, I knew exactly what I should be doing. I hit my knees instantly and told God that I was ready to give Him all these emotions that I had. I prayed for a long time. I cried out to God and gave Him everything that I had. The very night that I was going to end it all, the very night I was ready, was the night that I had found the Lord. Ever since, my life has made a spectacular turn for the better. Since that night, there's not been a day go past that I have not prayed to God to give my emotions to Him, my depression to Him, and my anxiety to Him. I have also not gone a day since then without being joyful and overwhelmed and having God with me. I make sure that I always have a smile on my face, and when I come in contact with someone, I make sure that I show them the love of God. Of course, I still struggle. That's normal. No one's perfect, and I stress myself out. I fall into anxiety, and I get down on myself almost every day. But I do know that Romans 8:31 says that if God is for us, who can be against us? And I know that to be true. I count it as a major blessing that God gave me a second chance. And the one thing I would like to leave you all with today is this: God loves you, and He's willing to come into your life if you just reach out to Him. He will come into your life and turn it upside down for the good. He will show you love and grace and forgiveness that has never been shown to you before. All you have to do is follow Him and allow Him to work in you. God is ready to give you a second chance, and all you have to do is just call out to Him. It's never too late for you to turn to God. No matter how far you've fallen away from God, no matter how big you failed, it's never too late to humble yourself and depend on God. If you've ever been given a second chance, take it.